dedicated to you.
What's happening around the world and what's happening here at home? A very good evening to you and welcome to Primetime News. I'm Sandro Ferdinando. Let's take a look at your headlines for tonight.
Tremors experienced in Vellavaya and Buttala.
පොළව පළවෙනි වතාවට හෙල්ලීමක් වුණා. තවත් තත්පර 10-15ක් විතර යනකොට ආපහු හෙල්ලීමක් වුණා. තුන්වෙනි වතාවට හෙල්ලීමක් වුණා. ඒක දකුණටම ආවා.
President goes to Jaffna. Petition against election postponed to the 23rd, and court says petitions calling for polls not necessary as election commission had already given an undertaking. If polls are delayed, the masses will take to streets, warns opposition leader.
මුළු රටම මහපාරට වැහැලා ජනතා පරමාධිපත්‍ය ජන බලයෙන් අපි දිනා ගන්නවායි කියන එක මේ අවස්ථාවේ ප්‍රකාශ කරනවා.
Honorer questions the attempt to appoint select committee to investigate the National Election Commission.
වජිර ඔය අසංකරයක් දන්නේ. අර තේරින්කාර සභාවක ඕන කියන එක ඔය අසංකරේ නැද්ද? හිටියනම් අසංකරනවා.
First up in news here at home, people living in Vellavaya and Buttala experienced 2 minor tremors this afternoon. The Geological Survey and Mines Bureau said the tremors measured a magnitude of 3 and 3.5.
People living across Vellavaya and Buttala experienced tremors on Friday afternoon.
පොළව පළවෙනි වතාවට හෙල්ලීමක් වුණා. තවත් තත්පර 10-15ක් විතර යනකොට ආපහු හෙල්ලීමක් වුණා. තුන්වෙනි වතාවට හෙල්ලීමක් වුණා. ඒක දකුණටම ආවා. ඒක තත්පර 10ක් විතර තිබුණා. ඒ තත්පර 10 ඇතුළත අපේ චෛත්‍යරාජන් වහන්සේගේ පොත් කැරැල්ලෙන් මේතනින් ඉවත් වෙලා ගැලවිලා බිමට වැටුණා.
අපිට දැනෙන ආකාරය අපේ ජීවිතේ පළවෙනි වතාවට මේ භූකම්පනයකට අපිට මුහුණ දීලා නැහැ.
කකුල් දෙක හිරි වැටලා ගියා වගේ පොඩ්ඩක් දැනුණා. ටක් ගාලා බබා අරන් එන්න ගිය පාට අයියෙන්ම දැනුණා. ඒක ගොඩක්ම දැනුණා.
බිත්ති මෙහෙම ඉරි ගිහලා දිනවා මේ තියෙන්නේ. ඔය ඉරි තිබුණේ නැහැ.
The epicenter of these tremors was somewhere close to the Pelavatta sugar factory in Buttala, and the first tremor of magnitude 3 was recorded at approximately 12:11 in the afternoon. The second tremor of magnitude 3.5 was recorded at around 12:14, some 3 minutes later. The tremors were recorded at the seismic station located at the Victoria Dam.
පල්ලකැලේ භූකම්පන නිරීක්ෂණ මධ්‍යස්ථානයේ එම භූකම්පන නිරීක්ෂණ වෙලා තියෙන ආකාරය එම භූකම්පන දෙකම මේ ආකාරයට පල්ලකැලේ භූකම්පන නිරීක්ෂණ මධ්‍යස්ථානයේ වාර්තා වෙලා තියෙනවා. ඊට අමතරව බුද්ධංගල සහ හක්මන සහ මහා කනදරාව යන භූකම්පන නිරීක්ෂණ මධ්‍යස්ථාන හතරෙම වාර්තා වෙලා සටහන් වෙලා තියෙනවා.
පළවෙනි භූකම්පනයේ ගැඹුර අපි සලකනවා.
The first tremor had no serious depth. However, the depth of the second was around 80 kilometers. This is just another tremor of a series that have been experienced over the recent past.
According to the United States Geological Survey, over the past 24 hours, 4 separate seismic events had taken place close to Sri Lanka. A seismic event was recorded off the west coast of northern Sumatra, and another was recorded on the Carlsberg Ridge. In addition, a seismic event was recorded close to the Hindu Kush mountain range in Afghanistan and the other in Tibet.
මේ region එකේ ඒ කියන්නේ Indian Ocean එකේ සිදුවන භූමිකම්ප අධ්‍යයනය කරලා බැලුවාම Carlsberg Ridge එක
Seismic events have taken place in the Indian Ocean region, especially on the Carlsberg Ridge, Java, Sumatra, and even near the Hindu Kush mountain range. Those are parallel to the tremors experienced in Buttala. We can for certain say that the earthquake did not happen on our land. What we felt was the earthquake that took place close to Sri Lanka in the Indian Ocean region. The earthquake did not take place in Sri Lanka. Similar seismic events will take place in those regions. However, those will not pose a great risk to us.
ඉදිරියටත් මෙවැනි භූමිකම්ප සිද්ධ වෙයි. ඒතකොට අපිට ඒවත් දැනේ. නමුත් අපිට ඒ පිළිබඳව අවධානමක් නැති බව තමයි මට කියන්න වෙන්නේ.
Sri Lanka's election headquarters.
Sri Lanka's Supreme Court today took up 3 separate petitions with regard to the upcoming local government elections.
Of these cases, the petitioners, including members of Parliament G.L. Piris, Ranjit Manduma Bandara, Dayasiri Jayasekara and M.A. Sumandiran, had asked for a decision from the Supreme Court ordering the National Elections Commission to proceed with the elections. The case was taken up before Supreme Court Justices S. Thurai Raja, A.S.M.D. Nawaz and Shiran Gunaratne. In both of these cases, the National Elections Commission submitted to court that they are indeed proceeding with the elections. The Supreme Court then dismissed both petitions on the grounds that as the National Elections Commission is proceeding with the elections, there is no requirement for court to issue an order for it to do so. In the third case, retired Colonel W.M.R. Vijay Sundara is seeking an order to suspend all activities with regard to the elections. Opposing counsel submitted to court that the documentation filed by the petitioner in this case was incomplete. Court ordered that the documentation be completed and postpone the case until the 23rd of February.
The people of this country have now reached some degree of stability in economic terms. The decision to suddenly hold an election at a time like this will be a massive cost to the country. Also, around 20,000 police officers have retired since January this year. Is it possible to ensure security under these circumstances? I believe it would be wiser to postpone this election until Sri Lanka reaches a position where economically we can breathe again. That is why I submitted this petition.
The parties who submitted petitions to hold the polls commented.
Knowing well that they are heading for defeat, Ranil Wickremesinghe and the Podujana Peramuna government were trying to hide in fear, but we express our appreciation for the independence displayed by the National Election Commission. Chairman of the National Election Commission, Attorney Nimal Punjiheva, speaking to Newsfirst, said that the NEC is continuing with its preparations for the local government election. The NEC has already announced that the postal voting will take place on the 22nd, 23rd and 24th of February. The NEC chairman said that discussions are underway with the Treasury to obtain the necessary funding for the local government election. Attorney Nimal Punjiheva said that 100 million rupees was already provided and another 300 million rupees is necessary by the 25th of February.
In front of the court, the Elections Commission has confirmed that they are proceeding with the elections and they are going to hold the election on 9th March. So that's a good side of this case. Based on that, that group has withdrawn their case. That's number one. Number two, the other groups or other individuals, this army officer who was asking to postpone the elections based on the economic crisis. It postponed until 23rd of February. But at the meantime, election, there is no such a stay order. So the election will proceed as it is.
All these matters with regard to the holding of the local government election was discussed in the Supreme Court. And the petitioner had wanted this election be held. The elections commissioner comes to court and says, no, we are going to hold the election. So therefore, the Supreme Court came to the conclusion that need for a mandamus, a writ of mandamus, that does not arise because the Commission of Elections have come and said that is going to hold the elections. So presently, the status quo remains that the elections have to be held. If someone is kind to come and say that there is no money, under Article 104 of the Constitution, all government bodies are bound to help to have the franchise for the elections and to keep the elections. So today, with this decision, with this undertaking, there is no way that the court can give something else because another case has been filed. The court has come to an undertaking, the elections commissioner has given an undertaking, they are going to hold it.
I think the verdict of the Supreme Court today is to be entirely welcomed. We need elections in this country. We need the whole system to let off steam and so people can express their opinion since the Aragalaya. But we know that there is another verdict that has to come. I think it's on the 23rd of February with regard to the petition that was filed to the court asking the court to rule that there should not be elections. So we have to await that verdict as well. But this is an entirely welcome decision of the court.
They can no longer sell us the story of not having funds. If anyone from the Treasury or the Finance Ministry says that they have no money, that will be considered as contempt of court. If they try to do something to undermine the Supreme Court decision, we will file a contempt of court charge with the court. The government and the Finance Ministry had produced an affidavit. They did not state that they cannot provide the money. They only mentioned the difficulties. However, when a Supreme Court order is given, the Central Bank and Finance Minister are bound to release the funds.
ඡන්දේ තියන්න කියලා අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම මහා බැංකුවයි මුදල් ලබාත්‍යාශය බැදී ඉන්නවා ඒ අවශ්‍ය මුදල් ලබා දෙන්න.
Far from holding election rallies, the actual state of affairs is that the present government is not even able to do house-to-house canvassing. This is why they were determined to bring the entire election machinery to a grinding halt. In order to achieve their objective, they used an original theory. That is, elections are going to be held in future in Sri Lanka, not according to time frames that are stipulated by the constitution and the law, but only when financial resources can be allocated for holding elections by the Treasury. Now, if this argument was allowed to succeed in respect of the local government election, I can assert with total confidence that next year the presidential election will not take place. The same strategy will be used. A government that is fully convinced of its gross unpopularity will be able to use this argument to avoid any election at all. That would have been a calamity for basic democratic values. And that is a disaster from which we have been able to save this country as a result of 23 different political parties and groups acting in unison to stultify this mischievous endeavor on the part of the government. We can now assert with confidence that this election will definitely take place on the 9th of March. There's no shadow of doubt about it.
Opposition leader Sajid Premadasa stressed that if the government is trying to delay the election, the people's mandate would be achieved by bringing the masses to the streets. He made this comment while addressing a meeting in Haputale.
රට බංකොලොත් කරලා රට කාබාසීනියා කරලා මේ රටේ පොදු ජන ජීවිත.
After ruining the country and leading it to bankruptcy, they are trying to delay the election. I challenge the government that is formed by the elephant, crow and flowerbud to delay the election. We will bring hundreds of thousands of people from all over the country to Colombo and achieve the people's mandate. The government is making the people suffer with taxes. I wish to note that we will make this country recover from bankruptcy and bring prosperity to the motherland. The entire country is not functioning properly. Under an SJB government, we will hold the Rajapaksas who looted this country accountable. Every single rupee and dollar looted from the country will be recovered and brought back.
හැම රුපියලක්ම හැම ඩොලරයක්ම අපි අපේ රටට නැවතත් ලබා ගන්නවයි කියන එක මේ අවස්ථාවේ ප්‍රකාශ කරනවා.
Leader of the National People's Power, Anrukumara Dissanayake, revealed in Parliament that ruling party MPs are attempting to seek an appointment of a select committee to investigate the National Election Commission.
The National Elections Commission is independent. You are trying to dismantle it. While an election has been called for, 14 MPs have called for this. Vajira, did you cover this up? The need for a select committee? Did you not sign it? You were not present. If you were, you have signed it. I think you are behind this. The presidency states that the independent commissions must be strengthened. On the other hand, MPs want a select committee. How can they speak of these independent commissions? They depleted the treasury resources and say they have no funds for the election. Not a single government will develop this country. Every single government wants to secure power and then loot the treasury until it runs dry. Then they say the treasury does not have money for the elections. When the election comes, Ranil Wickremesinghe, as the finance minister, issues a circular to the treasury stating not to issue funds for elections and to release funds for only essential matters with cabinet approval. Ranil Wickremesinghe will say he cannot hold the presidential election since the treasury doesn't have the money, so he will remain. What kind of joke is this? We have a distorted parliament. The elected president was sent home. The elected prime minister was sent home. The lone MP is now the president. Should we not seek a public mandate at this time?
Ranil
Rajapaksa must bear in mind the court order. 2 cases were taken up today. One case was calling for the election and the court granted permission. Another case was filed to delay the election. That case was postponed to the 23rd. The postal election will take place on the 22nd and 23rd. That means this election will go ahead. The finance secretary will have to release the funds, and if he violates the constitution under our government, he will go to prison. Anyone who violates the constitution will be sent to jail.
We'll be back with more news right after this. Stay tuned.
News First. Main sponsor.
Durden's Hospital, dedicated to you. Experience the best in healthcare at Durden's Hospital's new Alfred Place wing. We continue to evolve into a purpose-built hospital of the future, with an ambience built to deliver world-class care. Durden's Hospital, dedicated to you.
Continuing in more local news, the Court of Appeal today dismissed the petition filed by the Public Utilities Commission against the power outages imposed by the CEB. The Supreme Court, meanwhile, dismissed the case filed by the Human Rights Commission on the same matter.
The Court of Appeal today refused to grant leave to proceed for the writ petition filed by the Public Utilities Commission seeking an order from court preventing the Ceylon Electricity Board from imposing power cuts during the time period where the GCE advanced level examination is being held. Court pointed out that the chairman of the Public Utilities Commission had filed the petition without the approval of the commission. The bench, comprising of Justices Sobhita Rajakaruna and Dhammika Ganepala, said that court saw the filing of this petition as an attempt to leverage the Ceylon Electricity Board. The Supreme Court also dismissed the case filed by the Human Rights Commission over the same matter. The Human Rights Commission had sought to take legal action against the chairman of the CEB, who had disregarded the directives of the Human Rights Commission and continued to impose power cuts during the period of the advanced level examination. The Supreme Court bench, comprising of Justices Gamini Amarasekara, Kumuduni Vikramasinghe and Shiran Gunaratne, held that the chairman of the CEB is only one person and that he alone cannot be held responsible for the power outages in the country.
Yesterday, Action TV revealed details about an email that the chairman of Lanka Coal Company Private Limited directed to a supplier who qualified to supply coal to the Norochole Lakvijaya power plant. The chairman of Lanka Coal Company had sent a clarification in this regard. The clarification states that although an email was sent to the supplier, nothing had been awarded to the supplier via the email. After perusing the clarification, it is clear that the chairman of Lanka Coal Company had not properly understood the news report that was aired yesterday. In addition, the chairman had attempted to misconstrue facts presented in the cabinet paper dated the 19th of December 2022 in order to give an abnormal interpretation to the series of events. However, the letter of clarification sent by the chairman confirms that the procurement process to purchase coal for the Lakvijaya power plant is irregular. In the letter, the chairman states that all 9 suppliers who submitted the bids are suppliers who had not supplied coal before. On the 6th of this month, the acting Minister of Energy recommended to the cabinet for a stock of coal of 720,000 metric tons to be purchased from 2 suppliers who had never supplied coal to the country before. According to the tender process, although the tender should be awarded to the supplier who submitted the lowest bid, which is $230 per metric ton, that had not been done. While that supplier had agreed to allow a credit period of 200 days, the tender to supply 480,000 metric tons of the 720,000 metric tons needed was awarded to the supplier that placed bids at a higher rate of $240 per metric ton. The credit period allowed by the supplier is also uncertain. The chairman of Lanka Coal Company stresses that these decisions were taken by the Cabinet Procurement Committee and the Cabinet Subcommittee appointed to decide on the matter. The manner in which the subcommittee conducted their affairs is clear in the letter sent by the chairman of Lanka Coal. Minister of Justice Dr. Vijayadas Rajapaksa had addressed this letter to the Secretary to the Cabinet and resigned from the subcommittee on the 21st of January. He had cited two reasons that led to his resignation. The reasons cited by the Minister for resignation are: number one, officials not revealing sufficient information to enable the committee to reach a sound decision, and number two, holding ad hoc meeting of the committee instead of pre-planned meeting of which the members are notified in advance. The Ceylon Electricity Board had made their estimates for the year 2023 on the assumption that a metric ton of coal costs $240. One thing that is clear is that the massive scam to purchase 480,000 metric tons of the 720,000 metric tons at a rate of $240 as opposed to the lower rate of $230 that was offered at the bidding process had been planned over a long period of time.
News First with the people.
President Ranil Wickremesinghe toured Jaffna today.
President Ranil Wickremesinghe flew to Palali to visit Jaffna on Friday, and he was welcomed by Fisheries Minister Douglas Devananda and former State Minister Vijay Kala Maheshwaran. Thereafter, the President engaged in a meeting at a private hotel in Jaffna. The President was welcomed by the people who were gathered on either side of the road leading to the hotel. On Thursday, Minister Douglas Devananda said that the President will declare open the Jaffna Cultural Centre that was built under an Indian grant. Indian Union Minister L. Murugan will also attend this event, and he arrived in Sri Lanka on Thursday.
The adjournment motion debate on the government's policy state that was delivered by the President took place today in Parliament. The following is an exchange between Nimal Lanza and Anura Kumar Dissanayake.
You cannot survive with just 10 businesses. Take a look at the leadership of the JVP. Anura Kumar Dissanayake does not have a business and does not have a job. They live better than us. Tilvin Silva has no business nor a job. He lives better than us. Comrade Vijitha Herath is not employed and does not have a business, but he lives better than us. Sunil Hadunetti does not have a job or do a business, but he lives better than us. They should reveal to the country their secret of living like this without having or doing a job or running a business. We would also like to see others doing better than us. How can you go around the country and conduct so many meetings? Who is spending the money? Where is it coming from? The JVP is deceiving the people. Be careful, because what goes around comes around. We are branded as smugglers when we offer money to a poor man. They brand us in many other ways, but they are using other people's money. If we take money from someone, that is called a bribe. But for them, it's a gift from a comrade. There is something beyond that. I invite the JVP leader Anura Kumar Dissanayake for a television debate on the economy. Questions were raised about our expenses, our taxes and our jobs. If I am in the government, I would not allow anyone in government to amass wealth in any illegal manner and would not allow anyone to evade their taxes. Investigations will be carried out and legal action will be instituted. I would not come to Parliament and yell. Should I even go for a debate with the person who called for one? If the debate is on how to identify heroin from ice and cocaine, and if the goods unloaded at the Dondra Head and Nigambo are of good quality, then the debate should be with Potta Naufa.
The Centre for Society and Religion had obtained the report of the Vijit Malagoda committee that investigated the 2019 April 31st attacks. Reverend Father Rohan Silva, the Executive Director of the Centre for Society and Religion, called for a media briefing on the matter.
We were only given 2 volumes of this report. One is the executive summary and the other is the recommendations. We were not given any detail relating to the investigations. Page 13 of this report states that based on the evidence produced to the inquiry board, though it was established that the group led by Zaharwan Hashim carried out the attack, there is insufficient evidence to determine that the National Tawhid Jamaat was responsible for it and that Zaharwan Hashim was the leader of the NTJ. It hints about a mysterious force that was behind this. The last page of the report notes the importance of determining whether Zaharwan Hashim, the NTJ and their associates were definitely responsible for the attacks, or was another force behind this. This is what we've been asking for 4 years. We will not rest until they are exposed.
The International Monetary Fund is insisting on creditor assurances to unlock the $2.9 billion Sri Lanka bailout.
According to Bloomberg, the International Monetary Fund said its approval for $2.9 billion loan to bail out crisis-riddled Sri Lanka will depend on the island nation securing assurances on debt relief from its bilateral creditors. An IMF spokesperson in a statement on the progress of its extended fund facility to the South Asian nation said that Sri Lanka continues to engage with official bilateral creditors to obtain financing assurances and also continues to advance domestic reforms. He noted that as soon as adequate assurances are obtained and remaining requirements are met, including by the Sri Lankan authorities, the EFF arrangement for Sri Lanka can be presented to the IMF's executive board for approval. The Paris Club, an informal group of rich Western creditors, and India have provided formal support to the multilateral lender for the loan recast, leaving China, Sri Lanka's largest lender, as a holdout. Access to funds will boost foreign currency reserves that are barely above $2 billion and help the nation curb sky-high inflation, steer its $81 billion economy toward recovery after facing the worst recession since independence.
When we speak of the IMF, many assume that they will provide us with a massive amount of wealth to solve all the problems. That is not the case. Wise state governance is necessary. Timely decisions will have to be made. If our economy is to recover, we need to collect a certain amount in taxes and the rates may have to be increased. However, as time goes by, we can reduce it, but not eliminate it. In 2 years' time, things will start to become positive. If the president did not take up this challenge, I wonder what kind of a situation we would be in. The IMF yesterday said that if Sri Lanka cannot reach an understanding with China on debt, they will not enter into any agreement. China says that they don't care about what the IMF has to say. They say they can only do what they are capable of doing. This is a mess. The economy, diplomacy and governance is in a mess. If we are to overcome this, we need a group, a program, experience and international recognition.
The Flight of Independence from the 17th of February.
The 8th Ministerial Conference of the Bali Process, which continues to battle against modern-day slavery, was held in Adelaide, Australia.
Today, there are an estimated 50 million people worldwide in various forms of slavery. The 8th Bali Process Ministerial Conference on People Smuggling, Trafficking in Persons and Related Transnational Crime was held in Adelaide yesterday, an international effort to end modern slavery, bringing together global business leaders and governments. The conference was co-chaired by Australian Foreign Minister Penny Wong and Indonesian Foreign Minister Retno Marsudi. This was followed by the 3rd Government and Business Forum of the Bali Process, which was held today. It was attended by Prime Ministers, Foreign Ministers and heads of government from several nations, plus business leaders from many countries. Sri Lanka was represented by State Minister of Foreign Affairs, Taraka Balasuriya. The State Minister said Sri Lanka is cognizant of the fact that the current unprecedented economic crisis experienced in the country has increased the vulnerability of the people in being lured by traffickers and smugglers. He added that corruption and a lack of resources to tackle false information about migration pose an ongoing challenge to the Bali Process region in combating irregular migration. Sri Lanka's State Minister of Foreign Affairs said, quote, "Therefore, it is crucial to identify the vulnerable communities and provide them with information about the risks connected with irregular migration and educate them on alternative legal pathways for economic migration." End quote. State Minister Balasurya called on those present to work on a strong and comprehensive plan to work towards strengthening domestic, regional and international systems to combat trafficking and people smuggling. The Sri Lanka business leader for the Bali Process was Shevan Daniel, Executive Group Director of the Capital Maharaja Group.
Sri Lanka is a nation replete with resources. We have everything. We have 106 rivers, and yet our people struggle to get access to clean drinking water. We have an incredible ocean which we like to call the Sea of Sri Lanka, and yet our economy is failing. Our children are increasingly malnourished. And the ultimate bastion of humanity, hope, is being stolen from our people every day. That's why I'm here, to speak for the voiceless millions of Sri Lankans, the powerless millions of Sri Lankans. And as we as a nation struggle to stay afloat, we are thankful for the opportunities that the nation, the rest of the world, gives the people of our country, particularly the people of the Middle East. We appreciate the jobs, we need them. We need the foreign exchange, but we're also making an appeal to you to be kind to our people. They're not there because they have choices. They are helpless. Nobody leaves their families and everything they're familiar with behind to work in another part of the world because they want to. They are there because they have to. So be kind to our people and return them to us safely. Because in the long progress of the arc of humanity and the ebbs and flows of nation states, we will remember your kindness to our people.
The Bali Process is in the forefront of combating slavery worldwide, and Sri Lanka and the Capital Maharaja Group are very much part of it.
For decades, the people of Samagipura in Sevanagala were suffering due to the lack of access to clean drinking water and were forced to walk for miles to obtain water. The village also has a rising number of kidney patients due to this issue, and in order to end their woes, Gammadha launched a clean drinking water project for the helpless villagers.
The Samagipura village is home to around 500 families, and it's located in the Sevanagala Divisional Secretariat in Munaragala. The lack of access to clean drinking water was a perennial issue for these people, including those living in the neighbouring villages of Kiri Bannara and Mahagama. The water available in these areas is high in salinity and is not suitable for consumption. This situation gave rise to a number of kidney patients reported from the area over the years. However, today, a new water purification plant was launched at the Samagipura village, ending years of disappointment. K. Sunil Dharmabandhu Senavira from Atulkote financially supported the project. It was implemented with the technical support of the Sri Lanka Navy under the directions of the Ministry of Health.
The World Food Programme in a recent report has revealed that the vulnerable households in Sri Lanka are bearing the brunt of the food crisis.
According to the December assessment results, 33% of households are food insecure. In 2019, food insecurity levels in the country stood at 9.1%. Over the past 4 months, food security levels have remained above 30%. The World Food Programme said that according to wholesale traders, prices of staple foods have decreased due to the release of food stocks in local markets, and the general food inflation rate started to fall in October. It added that households turning into food-based and livelihood-based coping strategies continue to be reported across the country, and nearly 7 in 10 households are adopting food-based coping strategies, and the majority of households are consuming less preferred food. The World Food Programme said food and fuel prices remain remain a prime concern of many households, adding that 58% of households are purchasing food on credit. The World Food Programme also warned that consumption of adequate diets remain low at 30% of Sri Lankan households and are facing insufficient food consumption, with 43% consuming limited portions.
And with that, wrap up news for tonight. Thank you very much for joining us. Do take care and good night.